Good morning, guys. Happy Wednesday. So I'm here. I don't know if you can hear it. I'm going to turn it down in a second so that everybody can get a clear understanding of what I'm saying. But the topic today on the radio is, has a loved one in the past ever physically, emotionally, mentally just abused you? And so I just wanted to speak on it because, like the man just stated, he said he was in a relationship with a young man and he felt himself becoming very angry, and to the point that every time that they would argue, they would get into physical altercations. And as we know, like, when you're angry, you say whatever, you do whatever. However, it comes a time in your life when you gotta seek help, because what would be the reasons on why you're that angry to where you have to put your hands on somebody? So he goes to say, he said, when you really love somebody, you want to be with that person. Yes, I 100% agree with that. He said, when you really love someone, you don't hurt them. You don't hurt them in that kind of way. You don't abuse them mentally, physically, emotionally. You just don't do it, because if you really want to, you can't say you want to be with this person and then every time at every given moment when things are going perfect or the way you expect it to be, you're hurting them. That's not love. That's manipulation. That's control, because that person already know that you guys both love each other and that you guys are in a relationship, and that after this storm is over, the calm is going to come, the rainbow is going to come out, and everything is going to be back to normal as it was maybe a day ago or an hour ago. And that's not okay. So here I am. I just wanted to tell about my story. It's funny because I just literally, you know how you get them Facebook flashbacks, and I had just said, should I share my testimony with people? And I remember one person in particular, they're like, yeah, you should definitely tell your testimony, because you don't know who is going to help. You don't know who is going to encourage to get help, seek help, understand that they wasn't wrong in the situation, or even just understand maybe they was right and what they was feeling was legit, and in that moment that was all what was mattering. So as some of y'all may know, I had my son back in 2015 of October, and for a while I used to always hear things about my son's father. And I never thought nothing of it, because that was never what I experienced. So I'm not going to sit up here and feed into stuff. Like, I used to hear like, oh, he dog bitches out. That part I knew. But other stuff like he smoked cigarettes, I remember confronting this young lady while I was pregnant, and I'm like, so you're talking to my baby dad? And she referred to him as his street name. And I just kind of laughed, because it's like, damn, shorty, you out here fucking my nigga and you don't even know his real name. You don't even know him. Like, you don't know nothing about him. But I'm not gonna fall shorty, because we all been there. Like, we all been young, we all been dumb, we all been placed in situations when we really didn't know a person until you really know a person, if you know what I mean. You gotta read in between the lines with that one. But I remember she was saying like, oh, he beat my ass, he blacked my eye, he pulled me out his car and left me. And I'm just like, wow. Like, in my mind, as me being a young woman, when I got pregnant with my son, I was only 22 years old, so I still was growing into the woman that I am today. Like, a lot of experiences just changes you and puts you in different directions. Some is for the better and some is for the worse. But in this case, I would have to say, by me being in the military, I had grown to tolerate a lot of things. I have grown to tolerate a lot of things because when you in the military, you can't just lash out, because just like in the civilian world, when you do something wrong, there's consequences. And at this point, this consequence can really change your life in the military, just like it can really change your life in the civilian world. But needless to say, when I was younger, I'm like, oh, I don't know who that person is. Like, he ain't never did no shit like that to me, so she's lying. In my head, she's lying. He has never put his hands on me, never came close to putting his hands on me. So why would he do that to you? Why would he blank your eye? Why would he do this to you? Like, I'm blaming her at this point. Like, oh, she must have did something. But in the same reality, I didn't believe that my man would be out here doing no shit like that. So I'm like, okay, I just left that situation alone. But little did I know that in that moment, as these months were moving forward, and after I had our son, that became my reality. That became my reality. The first time he ever hit me, I remember it so vividly, but in the same sense, it's a little foggy as well, because it's been so many years ago. But we were arguing, and I never been a big person of communication, because in my life I have always felt so alone. Like, I have legit always felt so alone. So the only people that I would talk to was my friends. I wouldn't talk to my family. I always just felt more comfortable just talking with my friends. And it's bad, because even now I'm still like that. Like, people that I consider my friends now are legit my friends, and has been my friends for numbers of years. Numbers of years. If I have ever called you my friend, I still consider you my friend for different reasons, because people are placed in your life for different reasons, and you can tell certain people certain things that you can't tell other people. So it's okay to have a handful of friends. I legit have a handful of friends. Like, I can count on one hand how many friends that I have, but I know these are the same friends. If I was to ever need them, or if they was to ever need me, best believe you know we're going to come through. However, to not get off track about the story, we were arguing because I'm one of those people, when the conversations get too heated, well, in the past, I can't express myself within that moment. I completely shut down, and in that moment, I had the baby. We were in the room and we was having a conversation. I think at this point our son was maybe a month. So I just got up, I got up and I went into my daughter's room or whatever. And we're still arguing. And I just remember him like telling my daughter, like, yeah, your mom can sleep in here for the night because she's a child. She might as well be your sister, whatever the case is. And I'm just like, whatever, just leave me alone. I'm on that type time, like, just leave me alone. And I guess it got to the point that he was very aggravated, the fact that I wasn't no longer talking, and that I completely shut down, because all I remember is him physically pulling me out of my daughter's bed, and we're yelling and we're screaming, and he's just like grabbing and throwing me around, like, and you would have thought I was some type of rag doll or something. Like, the way he was just throwing me around. And I just remember, like, I don't remember the ins and outs, but I do just remember my daughter at this time. She was only 3, and she was hiding under the bed. But that's not even to include this one time. Like, I can remember it so vividly. I can tell you exactly what happened, because it wasn't that long ago, to be honest. I was in the military. As y'all know, we were married, or maybe y'all don't know. We were married for a while. We didn't tell anyone. Because I had my reasons, and he had his own secret agenda of why he wanted to get married as well. So here we are, and he's like, I'm coming down, I'm bringing the kids down. At this point, I'm living in Colorado. He had moved all his things there, but physically he was not there. He wasn't there. I was alone. I was by myself. I didn't know these people. I didn't have my kids, and it was hard for me. It was a hard time for me at that time. But he called me, and he's like, hey, we're going to get on the flight, pick us up from Denver. And I'm like, okay, cool, So At this time, I was struggling with my run because, as some of you may know, in Colorado, the elevation is so high. Like, it is so hard to breathe. Like, a bitch was out there dying. So, my first PT test, I legit failed my run, baby, by 3 seconds. So, I'm on remedial. So, when I go to pick them up, I'm in regular clothes, and I have a bag of clothes in my trunk of my car. So I'm about to tell you guys how controlling and manipulative he was. So little did I know, shortly later after this incident, he had the passwords to all my accounts, like my iPhone, my emails, my social media, everything. And I'm not saying that as if it's a bad thing, because when you're married in a relationship and you're supposed to trust this person, that's not an issue. But the issue is, I didn't have anything if is. Didn't know what he was doing, who he was doing it with, how he was doing it. But here you are, you knowing so much about me. It got to the point at one point, he cleared out my bank account. Like, he cleared out my bank account and it had my rent money and everything in it. And he would not give it to me. He would not give it to me. I had to end up getting the money from my grandmother. But back to this incident. So I picked him up from the airport. I was so happy to see my children and everything. And I think at this point we were kind of beefing or whatever, but he still would try to always make an effort to try to make things right when we were on the outs or whatever. So we're driving back, mind you. If anybody knows, from Denver to Colorado Springs, closer to Fort Carson, it can be almost a 2-hour drive sometimes, and that shit is dreadful, especially concerning that the fact we lived at the time 20 minutes from the base. So I had to be up in the morning by 4:30 to be out the house by 4:40, because the gate, if anybody know anything about gate 4 on Fort Carson, it'd be backed up. It'd be backed up so that I could be in formation by 6:30. So we get to the house or whatever the case is, and he's drinking. Mind you, he's not a drinker at all. From as long as I knew him, he's always been a marijuana smoker. He doesn't really drink. So he's drinking, whatever the case is, and I'm getting back in the house. We're getting everybody settled. I'm getting ready for bed. So, make a long story short, he became upset because we didn't have sex. And I'm like, I'm tired. Like, I'm tired. It's midnight. I gotta be up in 4 hours. I don't want to do that right now. But just because I didn't want to do it right now didn't mean that I didn't want to do it later. I already knew we were going on a 4-day. A 4-day is when you don't work from Friday until Monday and you return back on Tuesday, because it was a holiday weekend. So I don't even remember what we were arguing about, but little to like sum the whole story up, because I feel like I'm rambling. We start arguing, and next thing you know, he's choking me. Like, he has never done that before, and this is the first time in my life that I think I was ever scared of him, because when he choked me, I completely blacked out. Like, I completely blacked out. Mind you, the kids are in the room next to us, and not only did he choke me out to the point that I went unconscious for a few minutes and I blacked out, he goes to throw alcohol on me and everything, and then he grabbed my phone and he ran out the house. And so I just want to, because I don't want to make it seem like anything, like, I'm not trying to make it seem like he's a completely bad guy or whatever case is. Like, our marriage was nothing short of not being perfect. Like, from the beginning, we started off wrong. It was bad. He did things, I did things. We're not going to talk about it in this story, but it was within that moment that I knew that I couldn't be with him, because we had already been in a marriage of physically fighting, like me fighting back and us literally fighting. But this one time I just felt in myself like enough was just enough, and I didn't even fight this time. I knew it comes to a point in your life where you know you can't beat somebody. As a female, especially not a trained boxer or something, I know that I can never beat my baby dad. And it was in that moment where I knew that I couldn't beat him, so it was no need to fight him. It was no need for me to fight him at all. And I was scared. I was legit scared. And I told my girlfriends, and I'm like, yo, I can't be with him, because if he did this once, he'll do it again. So this is just a message for ladies. If a man hits you once and they apologize and they say that's out of character, they don't do that kind of things, in that moment, that's when you need to leave. Don't sit and fight. You can't beat a man. You cannot beat a man. No matter how big you are, you cannot beat that man. But anytime that a relationship goes from arguing to physical altercations, that's when you need to walk away. Because like the man said on his radio, if somebody really loved you, they wouldn't, for one, they wouldn't hurt you. They wouldn't put you in any kind of situations to where people are laughing at you, or people are talking bad about you, or people are coming to you as a woman. But when it starts to really get physical, you gotta go. It's not even worth it no more, especially when you have kids. I have a daughter, and I know many of you women have daughters. We are supposed to be role models for these young ladies that's growing up. We cannot let them think that a man hitting you is love. It's not love. And if you're in a domestic relationship, I want to pray over you today. Lord Jesus, Father, I come to you now, and I ask that anybody who's watching who needs the strength, that you give them the strength, Lord, to just walk away and protect themselves, because it's so many women that just don't know how to leave. They're getting abused and they're thinking that they're staying for their children. But the more that you stay, is the weaker that you're making the daughter that you have. You're making her weak, because she's going to think that love is getting hurt and love is getting hit and love is abuse, when that's not it. You got to teach these girls, and you just got to walk away. And I pray today that God gives you strength, and that he gives you peace, and that he gives you clarity, and that today, if you're not a believer, that you walk with him. Because when I tell you that I just been prayed up, I'm just so humble. I'm going to tell you guys in another story, because this is a testimony of something else, something bigger. But I just ask that you protect yourself and you protect your peace, and never let a man keep thinking that he has the opportunity to keep being in and out of your life. Whenever a man thinks he's done with you and he gonna tell you like he don't want to be with you no more. But the moment that you start getting a little bit happy, and the moment that you're out of that depression, and that you can start to feel like you love yourself again for once, he's gonna come back. And I know as a lady, because I've been there, you're gonna take him back. But I pray that you don't. I pray that you get yourself together, and that whatever you're going through, that you get through. And if nobody told you today, I love you, and I want you to be strong, okay? God bless.